right, this week on the mini guitar lesson, I thought we'd continue something we started last week, which was exploring alternate and different tunings on a guitar. As we talked about last week, a guitar, 6-string guitar, is typically tuned from the highest string, pitch-wise, to the lowest, being E, B, G, D, A, and E. That's from string 1, the thinnest or highest pitch, to string 6, the lowest or thickest pitch. Last week we covered dadgad tuning. You can go ahead and jump back to the episode here if you want to check that out. That was episode 14 of Everything Guitar. This week we're going to talk about drop tunings. Now, what a drop tuning is typically means that you take your low string, your 6th string, and you'll drop it down to a lower pitch. There are a couple of benefits to this. First off, it obviously gives you a lower pitch, so a lower sound. Particularly though, with most drop tunings, what you'll do is you'll drop this string number 6, down 1 whole step or 2 frets. Now the benefit of that, based on how our guitars tune, the intervals of guitar tuning, is that gives you a root on the low string, whatever note you're playing is your root or your first. That gives you a 5th automatically on your next string if you're on the same fret pattern. Now, if you've explored some of our previous chord and some of our previous scale episodes of Everything Guitar, you'll know that your root and your 5 make up 2 of the 3 tones that make up a typical triad or a typical chord. Root and 5, more specifically, make up what's called a power chord, which is one of the most basic chords you can learn to play on a guitar because it's based off of 2 notes, the root or your bass note, and your 5 or your 5th. A little bit of real quick theory to review. Our notes on a guitar, or in music I should say, in Western music, our basic notes, not including sharps and flats, are A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and then they repeat. So there's 7 notes, not including sharps and flats. So with a root 5 chord, you're playing your bass note, your root, or your 1, and you're playing the 5th note, or the 5th note in that scale, the 4th one above the root. So what does that mean? Well, let's take a look at this guitar. This is my Ibanez Art 300. I have this guy currently tuned to drop C tuning. What drop C means is that every string is tuned down a whole step or 2 frets, and then the lowest string is dropped down 2 frets more or another whole step below that. So this guitar is currently tuned from the highest string pitch-wise to the lowest to C, A, F, C, G, and C. So we've got a C here, we have a C here, and we have a C here. Now with drop tuning, like I said, the benefit of that is that your 6th string and your 5th string are exactly a 5th apart. So if you're wanting to play power chords, your basic 2-note chords, you can just play those 2 strings together. So if we play them open, based on how I'm tuned currently, we would have a C5 or a C power chord. Pretty cool, huh? Don't have to do anything on your strings on your left hand whatsoever, and you've got a low C chord, a real heavy. Now the nice thing about that, since these guys are exactly a 5th apart, root and 5, you can play 1-finger chords on those bottom 2 strings. So if we have a C here, we know from previous theory, if we jump up 2 frets, 1 whole step, that takes us up to our next chord, which would be a D. So on the 2nd fret, if we play the 6th string and the 5th string, barring that down on fret 2, we have a D chord. Same thing, if we jump up 2 more, we get an E. Then we jump up to fret number 5, which is a half step, we get an F. Fret number 7, another whole step, we get a G. Fret number 9, another whole step, we get an A. Fret number 10, another whole step, we get a B. And fret number 12, another whole step, we get a C again, an octave higher. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, another cool thing about this, remember when we were just going through the strings on how this guitar is tuned, we have octaves. We have a C here on string 6. Or if you just do drop tuning and standard tuning, this would be a D. Everything else would be your normal string notes we talked about previously. A string 4 is also a C. And then we've got our fifth in the middle. So in this case, that is a G. So if we play those three together, we block the bottom three strings, and we play the three lowest pitch strings, we get a big C power chord that we have a root, a fifth, and an octave. Same thing if we move that up. So that gives you some very interesting possibilities for riff writing. If you want to do a lot of riffs that you're moving around a lot, but maybe your left hand isn't quite up to snuff yet, you're still learning how to play, and switching from a lot of different chord shapes or moving around the neck real fast is not the easiest thing to do for you. If you do something like a drop tuning like this, whether it's drop D, meaning leaving everything tuned normal, only taking your sixth string and dropping it down 2 frets or to a D note, or if you want to go heavier like this guitar is and drop it down a whole step on all the strings and 2 whole steps on the low string to get a C, that gives you a lot of interesting opportunities to play chord progressions that are easier because you're just using one finger to play power chords across your 3 lowest strings. So like that riff I was playing at the start, I'm tuned about a step lower, actually about half a step lower than I need to be. But you might have recognized that from a certain Seattle band from the early 90s if you're into my age. Or you might know something from a certain classic rock singer who started one of the original heavy metal bands. It sounds like... So, lots of opportunities there for cool riffs. Also, you can get some very cool, really big power chords if you play a standard power chord shape, root, fifth, and octave on your fifth, fourth, and third strings, and then you throw in that low string with it. That gives you some very interesting tonalities. So there would be a D, or pardon me, a C in this case, and a C power chord an octave higher. And then if we throw on that fifth fret on the low G string, what we're doing, or on the low string, we're throwing a G on there, so we're basically doing an inverted C power chord with a G in the bass. So that'd be like C over G, or C5 over G. Of course, let's not forget the fact that if we have that low string drop down a whole step, that also gives us a very nice possibility to play a very big 6-string open chord, meaning if you play your standard D shape, which we've learned previously looks like this, only we take that first finger on the first string, second fret, we raise that, then we have a big, huge 6-tone C chord based on how I'm currently tuned in drop C tuning. So there you go, drop tunings. Hopefully you'll find that useful and helpful, maybe give you some new ideas on ways to write riffs where they're a little more economical, where you're not moving around as much, and if you're a newer player where you don't have to use as many fingers to change the chord shape so frequently, because you can just bar across those bottom 3 strings. And to borrow a term from my favorite Swedish guitar player and YouTube legend, chug till your heart's content.